This podcast is brought to you by lineupmedia.fm.
Because if you can tell me what your habits are, I can tell you what sort of a person you are. I can tell you what your future looks like.
But like I always say, life is 10% what happens to you, it's 90% what you do about it.
The people who are most effective in the workplace believe that their future is going to be bigger than their past. When people don't believe that their future is going to be bigger than their past, they begin to disengage.
You're listening to The Circuit of Success, a podcast dedicated to helping you achieve success in every facet of life. Only on the lineupmedia.fm podcast network. Now, your host, Brett Gilliland.
Welcome to The Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland. Today, I've got Ryan Cote. Ryan, how we doing, man?
Doing great, Brett. Yeah, I'm excited to speak with you. Let's do this.
Awesome. Good to be with you. Coming from New Jersey.
Yes, sir. Morristown, New Jersey.
How do you say ka? You say ka? Ba? That's more Boston, isn't it?
I think it's Boston, yeah.
That's Boston, right? That's what us Midwesterners, man. We just lump you guys all together out there
it's
on that
Northeast,
East Coast.
so it's kind of
somewhere over there. Well, you are the Director of Digital Services and Agency Partner of Ballantine. You guys got a phenomenal company doing some great stuff. Founded back in 1966.
Yeah, 55 years ago, my great uncle started the company.
It's amazing.
By himself, and then it just now fast forward, it's me, my two brothers, my uncle, my cousin is here. My dad retired 4 years ago.
So that is the definition of a family business, man. So talk about that. How's that working with family and everybody kind of rowing in the canoe together? Yeah,
it's fine. I know not all family businesses work, and not that it's roses and peaches here, but it's definitely, obviously I'm third generation. My cousin's in the business now. And so, it's worked fine. It is kind of cool to all work together towards the same goal. And we all have there's some overlap in the responsibilities, but we do have different things that we all handle. Like my one brother, Scott's more like the finance and operations. My uncle and Jake and Matt, brother Matt, they're more on the direct mail side. I'm on the digital side. So we do have some responsibilities that overlap for sure, but we also have distinct roles, and it's kind of cool to work together to grow the business.
Yeah. Thanksgiving's a little different for you guys.
Yeah. I don't see my brothers on the weekends, and I see them every day. So
right. Exactly. That's awesome.
Different.
Well, what do you think's helped make you the man you are today, Ryan? I mean, it's obviously this company, this is a big deal. Your family, I would assume, is around that, but you had to take some steps and make some choices. I always say in life, there's consequences and there's choices. There's a consequence to our choice. So what's kind of helped shape who you are today?
I like to think, the habits that you have and the decisions that you make every day, that it compounds to the life that you have. And not that I always make the right decision or that my habits are perfect, but I think overall I do a good job with those. So the food that I eat, the exercise, the personal development work that I do on myself for mindset and everything that goes along with that, the books that I read, I don't watch much. I don't watch any news. I watch very little TV. I mean, I do watch a little bit. It's I'm not militant about it, but very little. And I just choose to work on myself the best that I can while still having fun. And I enjoy that kind of stuff. I enjoy the whole personal growth market, but I also enjoy business too. I think back to when I was in high school. I was always trying to sell things and do things. It's like the whole Gary Vee story, like selling the baseball cards. Well, it's true. I was doing that. But even I think about going back to college, I started selling things on eBay. Then I got into e-commerce and then affiliate marketing, and then teaching myself SEO, then getting into the family business. And so it's always been just slow buildup of trying things. And some of the things failed and some of the things worked, and I just enjoy it. So I think it's not work, and I enjoy it. So I think that's a big difference too.
I think it's funny you say that, because I was smiling there, because I think back in my childhood, I was always hustling too, man. It was like, I would literally go to Sam's in Champaign, Illinois. My parents, we'd buy either Crybabies or Lemon Heads. I'm an only child. I'd buy these big containers of Lemon Heads, right? And then I would take them to school. I'd have pockets bulging with Lemon Heads. And I was slinging Lemon Heads, man, in the hallway at, you get 5 for $1 or 25 cents a piece. And I would literally come home with like 13, 15, $20 a day in junior high and elementary school and into high school, it's like, man, kids want candy. They didn't have candy stores in the high school where I went. So I was the candy guy.
Yeah, you make me think of a story I haven't spoken about in a long time. And my wife makes fun of me for this. I remember in college, I got in trouble. I got called into the dean's office. Is that what the dean's office?
Sure.
Because I was trying to sell vitamins, and I was basically hanging up multivitamins, and I was hanging up flyers on the, like, there was like a hallway that you would take to get into the cafeteria. And there was like a spot where you could put things on there, like a little bulletin board. And I got these things printed up, and it was basically like, the cafeteria food here is not that healthy. You need to take multivitamins to, help your health.
That was your pitch, right?
That was the pitch. And I got in trouble for that.
Yeah,
So,
they didn't like that. But hey, you know what, dude? Tom Brady's selling vitamins now. I mean, surely, you were ahead of the game.
yeah, exactly.
So you guys do a ton of digital marketing, and now for anybody that's on social media now knows, or at least heard of what digital marketing is and so on. But where do you think, well, you can brag on yourselves for a while, your company, but also where do you see some of the best people on social media? What are they doing to make a difference and make an impact and get results with that?
Yeah, I mean, with social media, it's interesting. We used to do a lot of social media. Now we do less of it. We've kind of not pigeonholed ourselves. It was on purpose, but we've niched down to a specific vertical on the digital marketing side, mainly manufacturers and industrial. And so we'll use social media, mainly LinkedIn, just to get the content that we create out into the news feeds of their audience. So taking advantage of the advertising platform. But I can still answer that question because I'm still in the business and I still see a lot. It really comes down to being authentic, and providing value. There's so much noise out there, and it's really hard to stand out if you're just more of that noise. And so the people that are like, I mentioned Gary Vee before, but look at him. He's everywhere. He's doing a lot of video. He's very authentic. He tells it how it is. And that kind of activity is going to just like, here's all the noise, and it's going to raise you above that noise. And then obviously obviously the content needs to be good. It needs to be consistent. And then, social media is very much pay to play. I mean, it has been for years now, but you have to use their advertising platform for people to actually see the content. Doesn't matter how good it is. The organic reach is pretty much nothing. And so pretty much zero. And so you need to use the advertising platform to get your good content in front of your audience.
So that's advice you would have for people then that are putting out good content is it's kind of a pay to play deal. So on LinkedIn or pick your favorite social media platform that you want to build your brand on, you're saying buy the ads, do the things that you need to do to build that organic, I guess soon to be organic reach, but now you're just kind of buying it. Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to spend the time and or money on the content, you need to, if you want people to see it, you've got to use the advertising platform. Yeah. I mean, the way that we approach social media right now for most of our clients is part of the program. And this is not a pitch, it's just answering the question, but part of the program is creating content for them, part of it. And then, yes, Google will eventually, we put it on the site, eventually Google will find it and index it and rank it and all that. But then we put it on LinkedIn and or Facebook, and it sits there, and some people will see it, but then we use the advertising platform to then force it into the news feeds of people. So, it's for us, at least right now, social media is a tool to distribute our content.
And what do you see in the typical daily spend is on something like that? Like what do you recommend for people? Is it a percentage of revenue? Is it a goal-based thing? What does that look like?
I think it's a goal-based thing. It depends. Like it depends on the manufacturing industrial industry is like, it's very specific, very niche. So we don't need as much. We'll typically, boost a post like $50 or $100, and that'll get it pretty far and wide. But like there's a lot of companies out there that use social media and Facebook specifically as a lead generator. And for them, it's all about like, they're getting an ROI on it. So they'll max out their spend the most they can because they're getting that return. So it really depends on your goal, what you're selling, your industry. But test, you can on Facebook, LinkedIn is more expensive, but on Facebook you can test for, $25 and just see what it gets you,
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. So when it says one of the topics I want to talk about today, you said small business marketing does not equal small ideas. Talk to me about that. What's that mean?
I think that part, that topic is really about, digital has leveled the playing field for, we're a small, Ballantine is a small business, but we might not have the same budget as these, gigantic companies, right? But we all have the same tools. And so just because you're a small business doesn't mean you need to think small. You don't have to, you might not have a big budget to work with, but you have all the tools. So then we do it for our own marketing. Like we we put together a whole integrated approach on creating videos and how we're going to use social media, the content we're going to create, the search engine optimization we're going to do, the keywords we're going to bid on for Google Ads. And so we might not have this gigantic budget, but we have the tools that the big companies have, and we lay them out the best we can, and try to make them work for us. So just because you're a small business doesn't mean you need to market small. You have the tools at your disposal in the day and age we live in, and take advantage of them.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about this, but would you say the social media, the LinkedIn advertising things, like what's the most effective paid online advertising strategies?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who you're selling to. So there's two ways to answer that. So there's the paid advertising for Google, and then there's the paid advertising for social, and they both play sort of different roles. With Google advertising, bidding on keywords for marketing, you're getting in front of people that have a need. So they're going to Google and they're searching, and so they have a need. And so, at least in our experience, that tends to convert better because it makes sense. Like the person has a need, so they're going to Google and they're typing in whatever they're typing in.
It's like somebody going to Google and saying, I need a wealth management advisor in St. Louis. And there we are, visionary wealth advisors. Boom.
Exactly. Yeah. If they're searching for that keyword, they are looking for, a specific type of company, and that's a ripe lead. And so you hope that your website does its job and converts that lead. And then the paid side on social, it depends how you use it. Like, right or wrong, we use paid social for syndicating our clients' content. But there's plenty of people that use paid advertising and social to sell product, they build out a whole funnel to sell their course or whatever the case is, to, push more video views, to get email opt-ins. Facebook can be very effective for generating email opt-ins. And so there's just and that's the beauty of like the day and age we live in, that we have so many options and so many different platforms to take advantage of. It makes our job a little easier.
Yeah. Well, and that's what makes it tougher for us, though, for us normal people that listen to this podcast. We don't know the digital marketing side. We don't understand the algorithms. We don't understand SEO. And that's why, we work with, a team of people to do that. But that's the importance of it, right? Is you got to find the right team. You got to find the right people, because I know you talk about your website has to be able to, and you just said a little bit ago, take that Google search and then generate it and turn it into business. Yes. Right. So how does the lawyer or the accountant or the financial advisor listen to this? How do they make sure their website's doing that?
Yeah, good question. So load speed's really important. That's a Google factor now, a pretty big factor, actually, the load speed. It's called Core Vitals. If you want to do a search for that, like just search for Core Vitals. That's a recent update that they did where it looks at like your load speed, how your website acts and shifts, and they don't like a lot of movement. And so the first thing I would say is get your load speed rock solid. Mobile, obviously.
Can I interrupt there real quick? So,
sure.
Okay. So let's go down that road. I think this is very helpful for our listeners. So I go to Google, I type in Core Vitals.
Yeah.
And then something pops up, and then I'm able to then put visionarywealthadvisors.com or abc.com, whatever the thing is. They can put that in there and they know how fast my load rate is.
Actually do this. This is a better tool to use. It's a tool called GT Metrics. So it's GTmetrix.com. Pop your URL into there, your website, and then it'll give you like your page speed scores, your Core Vital scores. And Core Vitals is just a new thing that Google's looking at, which it's a few things, but it's like how fast does your site load, how big are the images, how much does your site shift? You see those sites where you scroll down and things are coming in left, coming in right, boom.
Yeah.
They don't really like that as much anymore because I guess it's not a good user experience. So that if you put your website into that tool, it'll give you a good starting point. There's other things too.
And that's free to use.
It's free. Yeah, it's free. That's a good starting point.
GTmetrix.com. We will put that in the show notes. That's a huge value add right there for people. And then obviously they reach out to people like you or whoever their team is to get that fixed, because that's going to help them show up higher on the financial planner example on Google.
It will. I mean, load speed's got, it's like small hinge that swings the big door, because yes, it's going to help your SEO, but it's also going to help you convert more, because slow sites are, they don't convert well. People just bounce because of their attention span. Yeah. So it helps for a couple of reasons.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Our attention spans are not good anymore. Isn't it amazing? It's like if something doesn't just pop up, man, I'm like, all right, I'm out. I'm done.
I think back to the days when we had the modems and it was like the 28.8 load speed. It was like making that noise as I was getting on, and it would be like minutes before the internet.
Oh yeah.
Now it's like seconds and you're like, what is wrong with this?
Yeah. Yeah, I was in college, man. You hear those things trying to get on the internet. You're like, come on, class in 5 minutes. Let's go. So what are you finding the advice you would have for people that want to generate leads and they want to actually drum up business and find new clients? What are some of the best ways we can do that?
Yeah. I want to add on to one more thing with the making your site convert, because I think it's important, and then I'll answer that question. So we mentioned load speed, we mentioned making the site mobile responsive and mobile, like really good on mobile, and then just making sure that you have a clear call to actions. Like we get a lot of clients, and maybe it's a space that we play in, but there's like no clear call to actions. Like, what do you want me to do on this page? Am I requesting a quote? Am I contacting you? Where's the form? Where's the phone number? Make it really easy for them to convert. It sounds like it's like basic advice, but we see it over and over again. So I think it's worth mentioning, have know what you want the person to do on your site, opt in to a newsletter, call you, fill out a form, whatever the case is, and then make it just like brain dead easy for them to do so on every page. And that's going to help you get more leads.
Yeah. That's one thing we're changing right now on our website, is that same thing. Is call to action is always there wherever you're at on the website. It's right there with you.
Yeah, and you can use if you're on, I think they're more than just WordPress. I think it's any website. You can use a tool like Hello Bar. They've got a free version and a paid version, not affiliated. It's a bar that appears at the top of your page and scrolls down with you. So you can, it makes it very easy to just get your information on every page.
So again, there's 5 ways that we can drum up business. What are those?
Yeah. So lead generation. Yeah. So there's different, the starting point is knowing, who your target audience is. Of course, that's like the starting point. Like, yep. Who is your target audience? And then really where do they go? Where do they hang out on the internet? We always prefer, like, if I think about our own lead generation, it's not relying on one channel. And so to give you like real life example here, like we still do the old school stuff, like trade shows. That's a big lead generator for us, like that face-to-face or soon to be face-to-face contact. We've got, our clients and getting referrals from the clients and leads from them. We've got, honestly, cold calling and cold emailing. We still do that. Like, why not? Like, it's just another channel for us to get in front of people that might not be searching or might not be looking for us. And then there's all the online stuff and our website, of course, that gets leads. And so for the website and the online marketing tactics, it's like search engine optimization. It's Google advertising, bidding on keywords and optimizing for keywords. Content creation is huge. That's one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, but content creation is really big. Creating content that answers questions, that's keyword optimized, that you can repurpose the heck out of and go crazy with it. There's email, MailChimp or whatever tool you want to use, getting a monthly or weekly newsletter out there. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make is you don't want to rely on one channel. You want to have a diverse lead source, because honestly, sometimes the website's not generating leads. There's like maybe a week where it's slow, but we've got other channels that are, maybe people are responding to our cold emails when the website's a little slow, and then vice versa. And so we always try to have like a diverse set of channels for lead generation. And that's worked best for us.
And when I hear you say my website is slow that week, like, what does that mean to you? Like, I hear that. And let me preface this with this. I was talking to a guy, his son's on one of my son's soccer teams. And he was saying they get this car dealership, they get 14,000 phone calls a month, 14,000 phone calls a month. And I'm like, I told him, I said, I don't even understand that. Like, I don't understand how that's even possible. Right. But it's all the stuff they're doing out there that drives this business to call them 14,000 times a month. That's mind blowing. How in the hell is that happening?
Well, because you got to think about what you're selling. Like someone, like for an agency like Ballantine, we get leads every week, but it's not a service that's like everyone's looking for, like a car, so you have to because we have clients outside of the manufacturing industrial space, and some of them they're more like consumer brands, like are more like more B2C, I should say, not B2B, and like business to consumer versus business to business. And they get a lot more leads because there's just a larger volume of people looking for what they sell or what they do. And so, you'll see, like, you have to look at what vertical you're talking about. Cars, they get it. First of all, automotive, because we have some clients in that space, they spend a tremendous amount on their marketing, billboards, TV, radio, digital, like a lot of paid advertising, a lot of Facebook advertising. And so they just have a lot more out there. And so they're going to get more leads, and they're selling cars, which is everyone needs a car. So
Right.
you're just going to get more leads that way.
Yeah. But it's still, again, it goes back to if my website is slow that month. I mean, I guess it's like everything you just said, whether it's an email, newsletter, it's content creation on social media, it's targeted ads on Facebook, LinkedIn, Google. I mean, those are the things you're saying all is driving back to my website. And if it's slow, then it's everything else I'm doing wrong, which is why my website is slow.
Yeah. And I think like, at least in our business, I see it's like ebbs and flows, like sales. It's all about timing. And there's just a lot of ebbs and flows in the leads that come in. I'm not sure why that is. I think it's just, I think it's the industry. I think it's just the nature of digital marketing. Like, because you think about it too, like if you're doing SEO and you've got strong rankings, it doesn't mean your site's always going to get that click. And it doesn't mean that searcher is like, are they really looking for an agency or what you sell? And so a lot of it's timing and a lot of it's luck on the right person clicking on your search result. And so I think that contributes to the ebb and flow as well.
Yeah. Yep. That's great. So let's kind of turn the page a little bit and talk about business owners and, you're running a business, a division of your business, and why should we as leaders and owners, and obviously we know the answer to this, but I want to hear your side of that, is why and how should we be investing in ourselves for personal development?
Yes. I like that question a lot. I mean, to me, and I'm not the one to say this, I just believe it's true. I think the best investment you can make is in yourself. And so, because that creates a ripple effect in everything else you do. Think about it. Like logically, it makes sense. Like if you're investing in yourself, your mindset, your self-education, your exercise, your fitness, all the things that we know we should be doing, you're going to show up differently at work. You're going to show up differently at home. It's going to change you as a person, versus someone that just watches the news all day and doesn't exercise and eats garbage and, just all that stuff. You're going to be a different person. It's going to change you, not for the better. And so, I think really personal growth, personal development, I think it's a critical foundation for business owners, because you need to be able to lead yourself before you can lead others and lead your company. And that's why I love it. And it's also the journey that never ends. I mean, I think you need to, like, for me, at least, like when I arrive somewhere, the goal always just moves, but it's fun. So, but I always try to remind myself to be present, because you don't always want to be achieving and never fully realize what you actually have in the moment. Right. And that's where like gratitude practice comes in, practicing being present. It's fun. Yeah. I don't know. It's awesome. I find it fun.
Well, I think it's cool too. I mean, the other thing though, that people probably do that listen to this, but is the importance of this is how much are you investing in yourself dollar wise, right? It's one thing to go buy a $20 book. It's another thing to, spend some time reading a blog, but you're putting your money where your mouth is, right? So talk to us a little bit about what you're doing tomorrow morning, what the weekend looks like with the big A, Aaron Walker.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So first of all, I've got, if you want to start down the personal development path, you're not really sure what to do, I think a morning routine is the best place to start, because you can check off a lot of boxes. So my morning routine right now, honestly, it's a short morning routine. It used to be long, but I'm just kind of playing around with different things because it's sort of like an experiment for me. Right now, I've got a 20-minute routine. I ask myself a series of questions like who am I going to reach out to today? What am I grateful for? What's my number one priority? All that stuff. And then I exercise a little bit. I meditate.
And does that number one priority, sorry to interrupt, does that number one priority change daily, or is it kind of like you're always focused on this number one, your family, your faith, your whatever?
Oh no, it's a more of like number one priority, like a task that I need to do for that day.
Got it. Okay.
To give you an example, like today's task, I've got a sales presentation next week. And so my number one priority today is to start working on the presentation deck. So
besides crushing it on the circuit of success, that's your number. That's that's your 1B.
Well, that was a given.
Right.
And then to answer your other question, so the morning routine, I think it's critical. And then, mastermind. So like you mentioned, I'm going to ISI, Iron Sharpens Iron. It's a mastermind I'm part of by Aaron Walker. Been a member for 4 years. And that's another personal development, like along with the morning routines. I think another really critical pillar of personal development is having some sort of mastermind. They all look a little bit different, but the idea is getting together with like-minded people that are all trying to make each other stronger and better and help you work through issues and problems. Like we read books together, we meet weekly, and we meet together twice a year in person, which is where I'm going tomorrow. And so I think that is it also pushes you out of your comfort zone too, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
I know for me, when I first joined, it was very different for me. I felt like, do I have much to contribute here to the group? Like when it's my time to speak and I'm on the hot seat, it made me feel uncomfortable. And I like that. That's kind of why I was there. And it's gotten easier over time for sure. But yeah, I definitely recommend masterminds.
Yeah. And I think it's cool because, again, you're putting your money where your mouth is, man. These things aren't free, and you got to spend time away from family. You got to spend time, on an airplane, getting to Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, those things matter. And I know for me over my career, working with a business coach, hiring a business coach, working with them. I talked to you earlier before we started recording about my executive forum. I mean, those people, man, are important in my life, right? Bounce ideas off of them that they're not even in your industry. I think that is really helpful as well, because we get so focused on what's going on in our industry that we don't think about it from the rest of the world standpoint or viewpoint, right? But if I can get that feedback coming in, that's certainly really, really helpful.
That's a good point. Because I think about my group, my immediate group that I meet with weekly, and they're all different. There's one guy that has a marketing agency, another one that's a coach, big real estate insurance guy, a manufacturer, and the others, Amazon guy. So they're all a little bit different, and they all have a different family life and a different, just different experiences. And so it's getting their perspective is important.
Yep. What advice would you have for somebody that's working in a family business right now, man? You've got third generation in a 50+ year business. For our family business owners here, what advice would you have for them? Yeah,
it's a good question. So I'm going to answer just based on my experience, like what's worked for us. And hopefully, anyone listening to this that has a family business, you can pull out one or two things that apply to you. But so I mentioned this before, but we all have our clear roles. Okay. I think that's really important. We don't have egos too. Like, my uncle's the president, but like he asks us for our input, and, we all, there's a lot of communication that happens. Like we meet regularly. Right now we have an office, but the team is remote. So we see each other less often now, but we have, I just had my sales meeting before jumping on this. So we meet weekly for our sales meeting, just to discuss the business, how things are going. We've got a monthly financial meeting where we go over the numbers and big picture topics, whatever, it changes every month. And so that communication is really important. No egos, having clear, distinct roles. Yes. Like I mentioned before, some of it does overlap a little bit, but we all have our clear set responsibilities. And I think this too, I think you can learn this, but I also think it's kind of built into you as well. I think there's a feeling of we don't want to let each other down, we all try to keep the same level of output. And yes, there'll be fluctuations because seasons of life and things happening, but we all I don't want my brothers, my uncle to think that I'm slacking, and I think they feel the same way. And so that kind of accountability, I think, is the word I'm trying to come up with. The accountability is there, and that's important.
Yeah, that's huge. So talk to us about your kind of, in closing here, you got a couple things you're doing also as well. You got your website, you got your blog, things like that. Talk to us about that. Yeah.
So I've got Ballantine, of course, which is our family's marketing agency. But then I also have this kind of was like a COVID birth. I started in April of 2020. I'm very much into personal growth, like we spoke about. And I was writing articles on LinkedIn about it. And then I had the idea, why don't I try to create a brand out of this? Like this could be my passion project, my impact project, the best way that I know how. And so I created a site called Morning Upgrade. It's morningupgrade.com. And it's a personal development, personal growth podcast and blog. And it's slanted towards entrepreneurs, but some of the content is pretty, it's general for anyone. I'm about to release a book. I'm about to release a morning routine product. I'm not sure what's coming up next. I'm kind of just learning as I go, And this is my passion project that, yes, I'm turning it into a business, but it's a business that will have impact. And those two things, Ballantine and Morning Upgrade, that's what lights me up in the business world.
I love it, man. So where do our listeners find more of Ryan Cote?
I'm on LinkedIn, of course. For Ballantine, you can go to ballantine.com. And then for Morning Upgrade, you can go to morningupgrade.com.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll put that in the show notes. Ryan, it's been awesome having you, man. I appreciate the wisdom you've shared, and got a lot of takeaways here. So I always appreciate that. I always appreciate the nuggets. I know our listeners do as well. So thanks for being with us. Safe travels to you, and enjoy Nashville.
Yeah. Thanks, Brett. And thanks everyone for listening.
Tune Tune in next week for another episode of The Circuit of Success with Brett Gilliland on the lineupmedia.fm podcast network. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and through our website, circuitofsuccess.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and email any questions to info@circuitofsuccess.com.
This podcast was a presentation of lineupmedia.fm.